The night she first stepped onto Frozen State, the wind cut through her thin coat like a blade, and her child's breath came out in trembling clouds. The mansion stood before them in darkness, its broken windows staring like empty eyes, its gates rusted shut as if the house itself had been abandoned by hope. No one knew that this place, long forgotten and buried under snow and silence, would become the unlikely setting for a miracle born from rejection, endurance, and a mother's unbreakable will. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of perseverance, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this survive because people like you still believe in light, even in the coldest places. Her name was Grace Holloway, a Christian woman in her early 30s, once surrounded by family, friends, and stability. She had grown up believing that love was unconditional, that faith would protect her, and that community would never turn its back on her. But life had other plans. When her husband abandoned her during a financial collapse, and she refused to give up custody of their young son, Daniel, everything unraveled. Her in-laws disowned her. Friends grew distant. Even members of her church, unsure how to handle her situation, slowly faded away. Bills piled up, eviction notices followed, and one cold morning in New York State, Grace found herself homeless, holding her child's hand and wondering how faith could hurt so much. Shelters were full. Temporary help disappeared quickly. Grace worked wherever she could, cleaning kitchens, shoveling snow, doing anything that earned a few dollars. But winter was relentless. Nights were the hardest. She wrapped Daniel in layers of donated clothes, whispering prayers she barely believed herself anymore, promising warmth she could not provide. Each passing day chipped away at her strength, but something inside her refused to break. She told herself that giving up would teach her son the wrong lesson. The mansion was something she discovered by accident, hidden behind overgrown trees on the outskirts of town. It had once belonged to a wealthy family decades earlier, but after legal disputes and unpaid taxes, it had been abandoned, left to rot under years of snow and neglect. Most people avoided it, calling it cursed or dangerous. To Grace, it was shelter. Not comfort, not safety, but walls strong enough to block the wind. The first nights inside were unbearable. Ice coated the floors. The ceilings leaked. The silence was heavy, broken only by the creak of old beams and Daniel's quiet coughing. Grace used broken furniture to block drafts and gathered fallen branches to create small fires in a stone fireplace that barely worked. She cleaned one room at a time, slowly reclaiming space from decay. Her hands bled. Her back ached. Some days she cried when Daniel slept, silently begging God for an answer that never seemed to come. But something began to change. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily. Grace learned the mansion's rhythms. Which rooms caught the morning light, which walls trapped warmth better. She repaired cracks with clay and scraps. She melted snow for water and rationed food with careful precision. Every small improvement felt like a victory against the cold that had swallowed her life. Daniel started smiling again. His laughter echoed through empty halls that hadn't known joy in years. Outside, winter tightened its grip. Storms shut down roads. Power outages spread. People with warm homes complained, unaware that just miles away, a disowned woman and her child were fighting for survival in a frozen palace of ruin. Grace prayed less for rescue and more for strength. She taught Daniel hymns her mother once sang. She turned survival into routine, routine into dignity. Then the town noticed the light. One night, during a particularly brutal storm, a faint glow flickered from the mansion's windows. A delivery driver, lost and desperate for shelter, followed it. What he found stunned him. Inside the ruined estate was warmth, order, and a mother who welcomed him without fear or suspicion. Word spread, quietly at first, then faster. People came seeking refuge when roads closed and heaters failed. Grace did not turn anyone away. She shared what little she had, organized spaces, and turned the mansion into something no one expected, a sanctuary. Volunteers arrived. Supplies followed. Someone repaired the fireplace properly. Another fixed the generator. Slowly, warmth replaced ice, and light replaced darkness. Grace never asked for recognition. She focused on keeping Daniel safe and others alive. But the irony was impossible to ignore. The woman disowned by everyone had become the one, holding the doors open when winter showed no mercy. As weeks passed, the mansion transformed. Snow melted from its roof. Rooms filled with shared meals and quiet prayers. The cold that once ruled the halls lost its power. Grace stood in the center of it all, exhausted but steady, her faith no longer loud, but proven. Just before this story reaches its end, take a moment to comment below. Tell us what part Grace's journey touched you the most, or who this story reminded you of. Your words might be the encouragement someone else is waiting for. When spring finally arrived, the mansion no longer felt abandoned. Legal authorities, moved by the story, arranged temporary ownership, so it could remain a community shelter. Grace was offered help, work, and housing, but more importantly, she was offered belonging again, not from those who had turned away, but from strangers who had seen her strength in silence. Daniel ran through sunlit halls that once echoed with cold. Grace watched him, tears in her eyes, understanding something she had learned the hardest way possible. Rejection does not define worth, and faith is often rebuilt in places no one expects. If this story moved your heart, if it reminded you that light can rise from abandonment and warmth can be born from loss, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories of hope alive. She was disowned by everyone, left homeless in the cold. But through courage, faith, and love, she restored a frozen mansion into warmth and light, and in doing so, found her own way home.